Hi, guys, and welcome back to The Plot Genie. I am Heather. It is so nice to meet you. If you've ever stared at your draft and thought, this is garbage, I need to rewrite the whole thing, this video is for you. And hi, you're not alone. Today, I'm going to share the exact three draft system I use to write books that are faster, cleaner, and way less stress, even when I'm juggling kids, businesses, or just life in general. So let's break down the formula that saves me hours per book and keeps me from getting stuck. So let's get this out of the way, okay? Trying to write the perfect book on draft one is a trap. You either over edit chapter one until your soul withers, or you write 20,000 words, hate it, and abandon the project. I'm usually the latter. I do not really do a lot of over editing. If any of this sounds familiar, hi, again, we're in good company. But why does this happen? It's because you're editing with final draft expectations before you even know what your story wants to be. This system fixes that by giving each draft a purpose, no more trying to do everything at once. So, the first draft is essentially the skeleton. Now, I'm going to tell you that my sort of skeleton is more of an outline, okay? And just understand this, and I'll give you some examples of what this means. So this is the messy, fast, tell, don't show version. Basically, you want to get the story down. What goes into the draft? Beats and plot points in order, potentially character intentions and actions, scene placeholders, dialogue that could suck, but maybe not. And that's okay. So instead of writing, he grinned, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, you can literally write insert flirty moment where he touches her, something like that. They banter, you know? You're essentially, so some tips here, just keep in mind are you're going to write like no one will ever read it because they won't. You're going to not stop to fix anything, and you're going to use maybe brackets, highlighter if you're like physically writing, anything to tag for later. Think of it like you're throwing clay on the wheel. You can't sculpt it if nothing is there, okay? The second draft is your refinement layer. This is where you actually write the story. You know where it's going for the most part. You shape it into something that's actually readable. So now you're going to focus on pacing, character reactions, and their emotional arcs, scene transitions, maybe adding internal thoughts, sensory details, story dialogue, that sort of thing. So this is where the insert flirty moment becomes he grinned, slow and wicked, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. You always look at me like you're about to run, but you never do. Okay. That was just you're still not polishing it. You're structuring the experience. Now, sometimes I will get caught here because as I mentioned in videos before, just really quick, the way that this is my three draft process, but sometimes in the second draft, like I tend to like outline maybe three or four chapters ahead, right? Sometimes, and this is happening to me in my soccer romance that I'm writing, where everything happened and then I'm looking at where my black moment should be among a 30 chapter outline, where my climax needs to be, where all of the sort of like the fun of fake dating is. And I realized I need to add four chapters more in the middle. And so that means I have to go back and not so much rewrite, but add scenes where they can fit without a lot of rewriting, right? And so that is literally what I did this morning. That's what I have to do. I have to write two more chapters. And based on that, now my black moment is going to hit exactly where I need it to hit. And it's not like, oh, I had the black moment at chapter 19. Like, what am I doing for 11 more chapters, right? So in that draft too, you could potentially, that's why I say like you might not know completely where you're going, or you might get to a spot and realize the structure is off. Why? And this is why it's so important if you understand your structure beats, why it's so important, right? To hit that structure and that you can go back. Again, you're not going back to edit anything, you're going back to add in the correct scenes. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. Let me know in the comments. But anyway, you're essentially structuring the experience. And so some tips for this is potentially do 1 to 2 chapters per day if you need that time. Keep a revision list on the side. It could be if you're writing in Google Docs, the comments like figure out what color eyes she has or make sure you go back and add this scene kind of thing. And then watch for plot holes, but again, don't let them derail you. So, your draft three is polish and power. Now that the structure is solid, it's time to elevate it. Okay. So, we focused on just essentially your skeleton draft is what tropes am I using? Like, let's get these plot points down. Your second draft is making sure you're hitting the structure and you're actually writing it as long as your structure is good. And now, what you're going to focus on here are sort of like the line edits. Does your sentence flow? Is it good rhythm? Word choice? Are you repeating words? Replacing filler words? Tightening your prose? You're fixing dropped threads or inconsistencies. This is where your book becomes bingeable, where your voice really starts to sparkle. A tip here, potentially read this book out loud or use text to speech tools. It can really catch clunky rhythm or awkward phrasing fast. At this stage, I also try to search and destroy passive voice. I fail at it a lot, but I try. I recheck dialogue for characters' unique voice, especially banter between my two leads, and I strengthen the chapter openers and the cliffhangers. So this system works because I'm never trying to fix everything at once. I give myself permission to be messy and I stop chasing that perfection and just start finishing the book. It also means I can fast draft and still produce books I'm proud of because each pass has a job, right? And it's not like I'm not putting so much detail that I feel like I've already written the book in that first draft. I'm just getting the ideas down and sort of the scenes that I want to have while leaving it open enough to change if I need to do it. And with that second draft, I'm actually writing the entire book and trying to keep track of, okay, plot holes, things like that. And that's why, like, if in chapter 18 I realize, oh, yeah, they're snowed in, but she has a dog at home, I go back in chapter four, I put parentheses, hey, make sure that you add a scene where she texts her friend to check on the dog or something like that. And then three, draft three is essentially the grammar, the pacing, all of that. Um, so it's not about rushing anything, it's just about working smarter. And you're not necessarily rewriting or repeating. You have different steps and they all, what's that word? They all build on each other. So if you're stuck in this book is trash spiral, so try this. Draft one, tell the story. Draft two, shape the story. Draft three, polish the story. So drop a comment if you're ready to test it on your next book. I would love to know what draft you're in. And if you want, check out my Substack. It's totally free to sign up. Um, I am loving it there. It's pop culture meets writing craft, and we marry it together for some really fun articles. Until next time, write fast, write messy, write often. You've got this. Thanks again. Take care.